I'm Don Tinney, English teacher up in South Hero, Vermont, currently serving as your Vermont-NEA President. And I'm happy to be here today with David Zuckerman, who is running for governor. And to get the conversation started today, I'll ask the opening question of why are you running for this office?
Thank you, Don. Good to see you from afar. I announced my campaign for governor in January of this year, citing the urgency but lack of action on economic struggles so many Vermonters are experiencing and the need to address the climate crisis. Those are really the two main focuses. And political pundits said, wait until the right time. You wait till Governor Scott's out of the way. But we clearly know we cannot wait any longer to aggressively tackle the challenges we face. Through the years, I've listened to many Vermonters as they've shared the challenges of making ends meet. I've observed well-intentioned leaders trying to find solutions, but they've just nibbled around the edge and not seen the leadership and vision required to advance policy in what will truly improve struggling Vermonters' lives. We're seeing in this moment incredible energy for productive change. We need to take that and run with it and make productive, positive change. The coronavirus pandemic and the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and too many others has only amplified that reality that already existed and has made it even more evident that Vermont needs a proactive leader that will put Vermonters' safety and futures first. I'm running because Vermonters need an economy with jobs that pay enough for workers to support themselves and their families. I'm running because it's imperative that Vermonters listen to youth and commit to ourselves to fighting the climate crisis in a way that builds economic opportunity and ensures a healthy future for all. Because healthcare access must be expanded while bringing costs under control, especially as the coronavirus has laid bare so many deficiencies in our system. Because now more than ever, Vermonters need affordable housing, and because Vermont college and technical school students should be able to access free in-state tuition. Finally, I'm running because it's important that we ensure all Vermonters are welcome. Those who are Indigenous, those who were born here, and those that have chosen to be here. We all need to be a part of our vibrant, safe, and inclusive future.
Thank you. And moving to a very current topic, I've asked you to share your views on the reopening of schools this year.
Well, we all want to return to normal, connect with people, connect with kids as teachers, I'm sure. And part of that normal is schools being open. This is the normal we're all craving as parents, as children, as teachers, as educators. Classrooms, gym, sports, band, and plays are all part of the normal that we miss. But we cannot flick a switch to just make it normal. Do I think we can reopen our schools? Yes. But there's no doubt it's going to be challenging and very not normal. We're not alone. Schools around the country and world are trying to figure this out, and no one has the perfect system. In May, I held a series of roundtable conversations with teachers to hear from you what is working, what concerns you have for the students and for yourselves, and what ideas you have. The two most important things I heard were, one, we want and need to be involved in the decision-making process. You know what will and won't work for students in the subjects you teach and in the new environment in the fall. You are the experts and you must be at the table. And two, I heard that you want and need clear guidelines. There was frustration that every district was doing things differently. There wasn't clear information presented from the Agency of Education or the administration. Going forward, I believe we need an inclusive and collaborative approach to solving this challenge. I would support a statewide task force on school reopening, but it must include teachers, parents, school board members, and administrators. It would be fantastic if there was also a student participating. Before the end of the summer, there must be clear guidelines available to everyone so you know what to expect at each learning level, so teachers, parents, and students can prepare. There also needs to be some flexibility at the local level as each school is different, and there may be some practices that need to reflect that. The new model will likely cost more due to either added staff, especially support for mental health impacts of this crisis, or splitting learning necessitated by spatial distancing or investments in technology to allow remote lessons. Therefore, it's absolutely the wrong time to cut school budgets as the governor has proposed to do. The impact on our children is already severe and we cannot make it worse. We already know that the ability to learn has been and will be negatively impacted, and we must do everything we can to make sure this generation does not suffer any more unnecessary negative consequences than they have to.
Thank you. As governor, how will you address systemic racism and inequity in all of Vermont's institutions?
Well, this is the issue of our time. I've been a long-term supporter of legislation that addresses the inequalities facing Vermonters of all races and genders, from marriage equality to the ethnic studies bill, but there's so much more to do, so much farther for us to go. I believe it's imperative that we remove bias and racism from our school curriculum, and that every student must see themselves treated and represented fairly in the materials we use in our schools. We need to incorporate all perspectives in our history books, not just the white male supremacist version. This process, in particular, should be expedited. Removing all racism from our schools and state will be a much longer process, one that we must commit to and make progress on each and every day. My administration will work to address both the blatant and systemic inequities faced by BIPOC communities and all disadvantaged and minority groups. I'll also significantly expand funding for the Office of Racial Equity so that one person does not have to tackle the systemic inequalities for all BIPOC communities in our Vermont laws and policy. And my administration will make sure we all have all voices at the table, as any and all state laws are drafted in order to make sure we don't repeat the errors of the past, but that we also work to address these issues going forward. To achieve this, my administration will also work to reverse inequities in hiring practices, appointments, and representation. I've been a longtime advocate for and sponsored significant legislation to address policies that perpetuate injustice. We must raise the minimum wage, pass paid family leave, provide universal health care, and improve access to affordable pre-kindergarten. Each of these will help start to address the wealth inequities that have affected the communities that have been disadvantaged in our current system. We all know communities of color and women are disproportionately work in fields that are paid the minimum wage. I support Al Sharpton's definition of defunding the police by reallocating some of our law enforcement budgets to better meet community safety goals. These funds would be shifted into programs that would invest in economic opportunities for all, fund core counselors for peaceful de-escalation, more social workers, more rehabilitation programs and substance abuse support services, as well as more economic development for everyday people as opposed to large corporations. Ultimately, we need to ensure those who arrive when called to crisis situations aren't automatically primed for use of force, and instead are focused on best outcome with the least intervention.
Thank you. As we wrap up in the next minute or two, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Well, I really want to thank teachers, support staff, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodial staff, and administrators, and everyone who gave so much to students, our communities, and our state in this troubled time. I've been continually impressed how quickly you transitioned to ensure your students and families have the resources, materials, and meals they needed. I saw the many creative ways you supported and cared for your students. I want to thank you for that. Now, while Governor Scott is not a Trump Republican, his reactive approach to Vermont has allowed us to fall behind in so many policy issues that could have helped Vermonters during COVID-19 pandemic. As I said earlier, paid family leave and $15 minimum wage, free in-state and college trade school tuition, addressing the climate crisis, expanding broadband, so many different issues, universal health care and more. As his consistent attacks on public schools through his proposed budgetary cuts is completely unacceptable. I've long been a supporter and champion for progressive issues, many of which our current issue has stood in the way of. I've also aggressively pushed back whenever he attacked our teachers and our public schools. A consistent thread through my time in office has been lifting up working voices and recognizing the organization structures and legislation that would most benefit them, such as the NEA, which is why I'm here asking for your endorsement and support. 10 minutes is not a lot of time to convey everything that I want to work with you to accomplish, which is why I would also encourage you to visit my website, zuckermanforvt.com, for more information, or reach out to the campaign at info@zuckermanforvt.com. While many candidates have good vision and life experience, I believe I'm in the best position to change the governorship, and that's what we're talking about here. Having organized statewide on issues for 20 years, run statewide in 2 prior elections, and having received 7,000 more votes than Phil Scott in 2018, I believe, and the polls and pundits also support, that I am the candidate most likely to beat Phil Scott in November. As a proactive governor, I plan to lead on policies that will help working Vermonters weather crises better in the future and ensure they have the resources and opportunities to thrive. I look forward to working with you on these issues and ask for your vote in the Democratic primary, either now with your mail-in ballot or at the polls on August 11th. Thank you so much for the time to talk with you all. Please reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and on behalf of my fellow 13,000 members, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.
Well, you bet. And it's always been fun to welcome you and teachers in the office of Lieutenant Governor, and we'll do so again as the governor.
Thank you.